Hello, this is Jim Stockstill bringing you another teaching from the handwriting on the wall. And today I want to revisit 9/11. And I want you to really understand the truth. It's been 14 years now since 9/11, the attack on the World Trade Centers. And since the trade centers were brought down. 14 years. By that, this is enough time. There's been a huge amount of evidence that negates that the towers could have come down by a jetliner crashing into it and fires that burned subsequently, and that would have melted the steel and the steel would have come down. Since then, they found out, investigators, engineers and architects for truth, you need to go to their website. Listen, engineers and architects for truth concerning 9/11. There's been hundreds of papers written, hundreds of studies written, hundreds of scientific articles written that says there's no way in the world that 9/11, that the towers could have been brought down. You see, the fires couldn't get hot enough. Jet fuel does not only burns, is the same as kerosene. It's just a little, it's just like kerosene. It burns at 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. It takes 2500 degrees Fahrenheit to melt steel. These structures were designed by the engineers to take this, the hit of the airplane. It could have taken 2 or 3 airplanes and it still wouldn't have come down. The structure underneath, I think the first law of thermodynamics is that heat rises to the top, and so the below it wouldn't have been going down to the bottom of the floors. There's so much evidence. I want you. It takes time. A lot of people believe that the Twin Towers, that there's something fishy about it, but they don't really understand it. This mess in the United States didn't start with the imposter president Barack Obama. It goes back many years. I started noticing 20 years ago that the government had a main socialistic agenda, and it didn't really matter who was president or who had the majority in the House or the Senate. One Republican president would end his 8 years, then a Democratic president would serve his 2 terms. Nothing would change except the party's name. We slowly but surely we've edged towards a hedonistic society. We approved abortion. We have approved gay marriages. We've broken all the laws of God. We've let the motion picture industry and the television industry pollute our minds with the filth that they put on television. We've allowed the drug dealers to poison our children. But this is not what this is about. This is about George Bush Jr., our choir boy ex-president. It's 14 years now past the Twin Towers. Many facts have now surfaced, including the surrounding the attack on the Twin Towers, and this lie has more of an impact on the world than any lie that's been told, except the lie that President Obama is a Christian, that President Obama has a valid birth certificate, and that he's eligible to be president. But these are all lies. These are all lies. It's proven now beyond a shadow of a doubt that the jet airliners did not bring down the Twin Towers. It's going to be up to you to research what I say. Take an hour, take 2 hours, take 3 hours. It's very important to get this in your spirit. Get this down in the core of your being, that this was a planned deal by our government. I want you to look at the facts for yourself. Expert engineers and demolition experts all agree that the buildings collapsed because they were imploded from within by demolition charges of barium and thermite. It's true that the planes did crash into the buildings. Planes did crash into the building, but the buildings were designed to take the impact and the resulting fires from a plane. They were designed to take the fire. They were designed to take the impact. In order for the building to free fall perfectly straight down like they did, required men. Look, the buildings all came down, straight down. Free fall speed, like you drop an apple from the top of the Empire State Building. That same speed, the buildings came down sequentially, meaning that all the steel underneath it had to completely dissolve, or had to completely melt, had to completely get out of the way. It's not possible for that to happen. It's not possible that a steel building like that could be burnt for hours. 24 hours in France, they burn a building, and the building still stood. The steel was unharmed. The steel was unharmed. But our steel, when it's analyzed by science, find nano thermite material in it. Nanothermite material. The nanothermite material, when it's exploded, is a chemical reaction that allows the temperature to go up to 4,000 degrees, which produces molten steel that melts it. The steel structure couldn't have come down. This was a marvelously designed building. And then the third structure, the Tower 7 or whatever, that was a long way away, just fell like the same way. They were demolition experts. When they look at it from the very first time, they knew right away, this building has been scientifically demolated. It's been demolished scientifically. And here's how this happens. This is how this happens. You have to go in and cut each steel on each floor. You've got to cut so much of a slice in the steel, and then you got to place these thermite charges in the cuts. Well, how could that happen? Well, it so happens that there was a remodeling thing going on in the Twin Towers a couple of months prior to this, and the whole section that night would be closed off, and there would be security guards placed around the section that was closed off. Check this out. Check out what I say. Who was in charge of this? Who was in charge of this? I wanted to see how my time's going. Who was in charge of this security? The person in charge of the security for the World Trade Center was George Bush's younger brother, Neil Bush. Neil Bush owned the company that had the security for the World Trade Center. Come on now. Is this not nepotism at its highest form? The steel girders would not melt and give way until a temperature of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit was reached. Jet fuels burn at 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Barium and thermite were found in the chemical analysis of the ash debris. Thermite and barium allowed the temperature of the fire to rise to 4,000 degrees, thus causing molten steel. Molten steel was found pouring out the sides of the building right before they crashed. You could see it right before the crash. You could see steel pouring out of the building. This is on video. This is many video views. Hundreds of firefighters and police testify of many explosions inside the building. Hundreds of these firefighters who were in there. At the bottom of the pile, there was no electronics, no cell phones or computers found in the debris. Everything had just vanished. At the bottom, there were 240. There were 24 floors, 1 acre. Each floor is 1 acre of materials that just vanished. It just poof. There was 90,000 ton of steel that you can't account for in the bottom of the pile. The pile is missing 90,000 tons of concrete and steel. Vaporized. It's been vaporized. The only thing that can vaporize that is these explosions. when you watch the video in slow motion, you can see these thermite explosions going off as the building falls. They're going off sequentially, bap, 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 all the way down through. The only thing, I really want you to get this in your spirit. I really want you to understand that these are false flags. Our government has been sabotaging us for a long time. This is horrible. I mean, George Bush wanted to go and get Saddam Hussein. Can you remember back? Some of you are very young. He wanted to go get Saddam Hussein. His father didn't quite get Saddam Hussein in his Gulf War that he had in the early 90s. You know, I mean, this was a glorious war. You had George Bush Sr. on the ship, and all the ABC, NBC, and CBS with the television cameras, and they were, you know, and the great army of America was going in to crush Kuwait and take back the oil fields, and Saddam Hussein set all the oil fields on fire, and there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and George Bush wanted to get him, and so did the New World Order people. They wanted to get Saddam Hussein. So George Bush creates this incident. Now look, there were fighters. I mean, we have NORAD that is really close by. It's got the best tracking system in the world. NORAD, when planes go missing, they come up, and they escort them. The minute that the airliners were hijacked, NORAD is contacted, and they send jet fighters up, and they escort the plane and make them land. Why didn't that happen? Well, it so happens that Dick Cheney, the Vice President of the United States at that time, had alerted NORAD that there was going to be mock drills concerning attacks in the United States on 9/11. So NORAD didn't know if this was real or if this was mocked. And there was a Langley Air Force Base close by. They didn't send any planes up. Now, and if you research this to the depth, if you go to the depth, every one of these commanders in charge of NORAD and in charge of Langley Air Force Base, they all get promoted within a few months after 9/11. So we get a war on terror. There's a tremendous war on terror. And then we lose all our freedoms. We start being frisked and humiliated in airports. I knew that wasn't right. I knew that wasn't right when I had these people frisking me and groping on me and being x-rayed at the airports. You know, our freedoms were taken away. But not only the freedoms in America, this went worldwide. This is big. I'm not adequate enough in my dissertations to fully convince you. You have to get in this and dig into it and look at it. But this is huge. This is huge. We talk about false flags coming up all over the United States now, and our government will stage events just to get the attention of the people, to get the sympathy of the people, to make a point. They will stage shootings, they'll stage stuff, but these beams were cut. These beams were cut. These beams, okay, now look. We've got wonderful Americans inside that building burnt alive. Young ladies that had babies and young men who were just starting their careers. Firemen who were risking their lives, burnt alive. Not only we start a war on terror. George Bush is out reading a book. He didn't say, "Excuse me, children. There's been I have to leave right now." No, he just kept on reading the book. I've noticed that his confidence. It's called discernment. I noticed when he was getting elected president, he wasn't a bit disturbed that he wasn't going to get president, even though it was a very close run. He knew. It's decided ahead of time. It's decided ahead of time. The next president, it's decided, will be Hillary Clinton. It won't be Donald Trump unless it's complete overthrow of the United States. Obama was pre-decided. Hillary will be the next woman president. That's just the way it's going to go. Then there'll be a gay president. That's just the way the world's going. That's the way the New World Order is ordering things. At the bottom of the World Trade Center, it was like a foundry. There was molten steel. Like I said, the jet fuel or any other kind of explosive inside that building could not produce molten steel. Like a foundry, it was described as they excavated and excavated the demolition, found the molten steel. Thermite is the only thing that could get that steel to become molten. We can't let... Okay, not only were the lives... Look at our soldiers, our men and women. Who are they fighting for? Are they fighting for America? Are they fighting for the New World Order? Are they fighting for America's interest? Those of you who've had legs blown off and lost your vision or an eye, or you've lost limbs from serving our country. I'm sorry that you've done that, but we're not fighting for America. We're fighting for the New World Order's agenda, a one world government, a one religion, all gods the same, all governments the same, no boundaries, no boundaries. You see right now, Obama's opened up the United States to no boundaries. Anyone can come in. We're citizens of the world. We don't have. We got one universal passport. You know, we got one money system. You know, I mean, we got to open our eyes to what's happening. Once it ever gets in your spirit, you'll say, "My goodness." You know, a shameful thing would be to live your life and to die believing a lie, like the man in the Matrix. You know. We're told so many lies. We're fed so many lies. And if you're still listening to news channels that are ABC, NBC, and CBS, they're all controlled by 6 major corporations. You're not getting the news. You're getting what they want to hear you. They want you to hear. All right. Let me go on and see if I can get some more facts here. All right. Our liberty's been taken. The Patriot Act was passed. I went to school with John Ashcroft. I was a freshman. He was a senior. He didn't know me. He played football for the high school. He was quite a good man, and I've never heard anything bad about him. I think he just did one term and then he quit. The Patriot Act. I think he was probably forced to do the Patriot Act. But you know, now we're eavesdropped on. We're checked. We're frisked. We've got a war on terror. We're afraid all the time. The only people that's going to ever save us is the government. But they're going to take away our guns, even though they all have bodyguards and thousands of guns around them to protect them. They're going to take away our little handgun so that we can't protect ourselves. That makes a lot of sense. You know, Jesus said in the last days the very elect would be deceived, but he added, if it were possible. Are you part of the elect? Are you being deceived? Is it possible? The only ones that are not going to be deceived is going to be the Christians who have the Holy Spirit. Although there are some intellectuals that I listen to, David Icke, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He sees a lot of this. Some of these very intellectual people see what's happening. Of course, they can't connect it to Christ. And he is the truth. You know, he wants us not only to know the Bible, but he wants us to know what's going on. He wants us to know that we're living in deception. America has become the villain in the world. I'm an American. I love America. I love my people. It's not the people that have become the villain. It's our government. They become socialistic. They become hedonistic. They become evil. They allow